Josh Frydenberg will deliver his fourth budget, and he doesn't want it to be his last. With an election just weeks away, expect some big spending. The Treasurer says it won't be pandemic-sized spending, but we're told there will be a major cost of living package. The budget bottom line will be better off, but Australia is fast approaching $1 trillion debt. The last big drop from the government to the newspapers this morning, before we see the whole package, is really honing in on the job story, claiming a jobless rate of 3.75%, not seen in 50 years. Let's go live to our senior political reporter, Jonathan Lee. Jonathan, Clive Palmer has sought to lay out how much debt the country is actually in.
Laura, there are a number of elements which have been released to the media over the past week, as is the way when it comes to the modern budget. But there are still some significant figures we don't know. And Clive Palmer today and Craig Kelly, his representative, have been seeking to try and show voters potentially what $1 trillion worth of debt looks like. In terms of what we don't know, we still don't know the specific size of the deficit. We don't know how many deficits we'll have until we return to an eventual surplus. Remember, back in 2019, the nation was supposedly back in black. We still don't know when that debt will peak. There is the talk as we head towards $1 trillion worth of debt, and you can see the figures there being laid out, representation being laid out on the lawns of Parliament of just how big that will be. Now, the Treasurer has made it very clear this morning that debt as a percentage of the GDP will be significantly lower than forecast last budget. There is some expectation that that deficit level will be around $70 billion, which is far improved from the $99 billion which was forecast. And the Treasurer has also made the point that unemployment will be around 3.75%. That is a 50-year low, but it's also artificially low because we don't have immigration at the moment. What the Treasurer wants to talk about, though, is confidence.
In just a matter of weeks, the Australian people will go to the polls. They will face a clear choice between a coalition led by Scott Morrison that has delivered one of the fastest economic recoveries anywhere in the world and has the plan for the future, and a Labor Party which puts all those gains at risk.
Of course, though, Laura, the Treasurer is walking a tightrope at the moment. If he gives too much money to people, it will only further inflame inflation, which is obviously what the budget and the government is concerned about. We're expecting money for pensioners and low-income earners. There will also be room to move when it comes to the petrol excise, assisting people at the Bowser. You spoke to the economist Sol Eastlake, who gives it the tick of approval, but also says we need to remember people have more money in their pockets at the moment as a result of the pandemic.
I'm fully supportive of that. I think those people do need assistance to cope with increases in the cost of living that no one had foreseen 6 months ago. But let's remember that Australian households as a whole have $250 billion more in bank deposits than they did just prior to the onset of the pandemic, because governments have thrown so much money at households over that period.
Yeah, interest rates are about to go up as well. There is pressures everywhere, but that is good to note that we do have a little bit more in our savings after the pandemic. We always look for silver linings, don't we, Jono? Now, the government continues to promise real wages lift. We've heard this before.
Yeah, the Treasurer is talking all about families and assisting families who are struggling at the moment. The problem, though, is as inflation rises, petrol and goods become more expensive, real wages, in effect, go backwards. So the Treasurer is saying we can expect to see the money in your back pocket going up, your boss paying you more. The problem is the government has been talking about this for 9 years. It has been very moderate and very slow, and the opposition is keen to hone in on that fib.
They have made 55 predictions about wages and 52 of them have been wrong.
Tonight's budget will be a panicked and desperate and tapped out budget from a panicked and desperate and tapped out government. Nothing that they announce tonight will change the fundamental reality of falling real wages.
Yeah, Laura, according to my notes, oil is up 50% since the start of the year. Wheat is also up 40%. Things are certainly getting more expensive, but whatever the government has to do, it knows giving too much to people at the moment will see them spend more, and that will only further drive inflation. Tough times, Laura.
Yeah, you know things are going up when you see an iceberg lettuce for around $5. It's not quite right. Jono, thanks so much. Join us tonight. Sky will have unrivalled budget coverage, including political analysis, interviews with the key players, and a must-watch focus group of voters giving their reaction live. The full budget coverage tonight from 7:30 Eastern.